Welcome to the Daniels College of Business at the University of Denver. Congratulations on your acceptance, and we look forward to working with all of you. The purpose of this webinar is to provide new students with important academic information as they begin their program. In this webinar, you will find information on academic advising, faculty advising, the academic calendar and the quarter system, and a variety of resources that are in place to help make your experience here the very best it can be. We hope you find this webinar informative, and if you have any questions afterward, please make sure to contact your academic advisor. You should consider the graduate student advising team your primary source for information while you are a student here at Daniels. Our office is located in Suite 155 on the first floor of the Daniels building. That's at the south end, right next to the Marsico Investment Center. Our team is available to answer questions and help you with general advising, course selection and course registration, and any administrative and academic policy and procedure questions, including academic probation, degree requirements, and graduation. We do have a general inbox that you are welcome to email at any time. That's gradbus.advising@du.edu. However, we do recommend that you contact your advisor directly for faster service. We have the student population divided up by alphabet and by last name. If your last name is in the A through L category, your primary academic advisor is Jackie Nguyen. If your last name is in the M through Z category, your primary advisor is Kenny Metcalf. Please contact either Jackie or Kenny at any time for help. You are also welcome to contact Lisa Bradley, who's our director. However, you'll spend most of your time working with either Jackie or Kenny. In addition to your primary academic, here's the list of faculty advisors. As I mentioned, every program has a designated faculty advisor. Make sure you connect with that person early, get to know them, build that relationship, and use that person as a resource. The University of Denver and Daniels College of Business are on the quarter system. There are 4 quarters per academic year: fall, winter, spring, and summer. With the exception of summer quarter, each quarter is 10 weeks in length. Summer is actually a little bit shorter, it's 9 weeks. The only unit here at the university that's different and is not on the quarter system is the law school. So if you did by chance take a course or two in the law school, they are on semesters. So just keep that in mind if you do decide to take a class over there. A lot of you are probably coming from semester-based systems. The biggest difference between semesters and quarters is the pace. Quarters are faster pace. We cover the same amount of material in 10 weeks that a semester would cover in 14 or 15 weeks. So it's really important that you all keep up with the pace in your classes. In some of your classes, you'll have a midterm exam in week 5, which will come very, very quickly. So again, very important you keep up with the pace. We do have a break between every quarter here. There's a long winter break after fall quarter ends, right before Thanksgiving. You don't have to go back to school until early January, which is nice. It's about a 5-week break. And then winter quarter starts in early January, goes through the middle of March. Then there's a week off for spring break. Spring quarter will start in late March and go through the end of May. Then there's a couple weeks off. Summer quarter begins in the middle of June and goes through the middle of August. And again, another couple weeks off. And then fall quarter begins in early September. Our classes here meet twice a week, either on a Monday, Wednesday, or a Tuesday, Thursday schedule. There are a few exceptions. We do have a few Friday courses, but those are very, very rare. And then each class session here is an hour and 50 minutes. If you want to view the academic calendar, understand when you might be billed for tuition, any other things that pertain to the calendar, you can visit du.edu/registrar/calendar. At some point soon, recommend that you all take a look at your degree plan and your advising grid. The degree plan is a document that shows your degree requirements, including the credit amount you need for the degree, any prereqs, and then your electives. The advising grid shows the recommended course sequence per quarter, and this is based on the current academic schedule. It's important that you try to follow your grid as closely as possible so you don't get off track. Once you start here, you have a 5-year window to complete your degree. For most of you, that's more than enough time. However, some of you may decide along the way to add a second degree. That 5-year window still pertains to a single degree or a dual degree. If for some reason you need more time past the 5-year window, there is a petition process you can go through to get a time extension. I mentioned in the previous slide that MBA students will take 3 classes in their first quarter. That will also likely be the case for those of you who are accounting or Master of Science students. 3 classes is a typical load in a student's first quarter. However, as you move along in the program, A couple of slides ago, I talked about the quarter system and its unique nature. A large part of understanding the quarter system is understanding the dates for adding and dropping courses and also when to register. Many students are concerned about when they can drop a class and receive a 100% tuition refund. Here at the University of Denver, students have a 1-week time frame in which they can drop a class and receive a 100% tuition refund. And that is the first week of courses. So when we look at fall 2016, classes begin on Monday, September 12th. Students have through Sunday, September 18th to drop a class and get all of the tuition refunded. In addition, a drop class prior to this date will not have a W or withdrawal attached to it. A withdrawal is simply an academic notation. It does not affect a student's GPA. Starting in week 2 of the quarter, which is September 19th, if a student drops a course, tuition refund goes from 100% to 75%. There's also a W attached to a course that's dropped during that week. Starting in week 3, which is September 26th, a student will receive a 50% tuition refund for a drop class, along with a withdrawal. And then in week 4, there is no tuition refund available. Pay attention to these dates for every quarter and make sure that if you do need to drop a class, do your best to do that in week 1 so you get all of your tuition refunded. In addition to the drop and add dates, you'll want to pay attention to advising and registration weeks for each quarter. Those will take place in the quarter prior to. So for example, when we look at winter 2017, we will have advising week or advising weeks for winter 2017 during fall quarter. And that'll take place during the week of October 24th. During this week or weeks, you can come in and meet with an advisor and talk about your schedule for winter. And then registration week for winter 2017 begins on Monday, October 31st. Classes for winter quarter begin on January 3rd after the long winter break. There are 2 important electronic resources that you want to get familiar with while you are a student here. The first is Pioneer Web. That's the primary electronic portal to the DU community. You can access Pioneer Web by using your 9-digit DUID number. That's the number that begins with 87, and then your passcode. Once you have logged into Pioneer Web, you can access MyWeb and Canvas. MyWeb is where you'll go to register for courses. You can look at your detailed class schedule, check your financial aid, and also check your official academic record. I would encourage everyone to log into Pioneer Web prior to the start of the quarter and get familiar with the site and the resources available. A few important points concerning grading. In order to graduate from a Daniels graduate program, you must have a minimum GPA of 3.0. If for some reason your GPA dips below a 3.0 during your time here as a student, you will be placed on academic probation. If that happens for 1 quarter, that's typically not a cause for concern. However, if your GPA is below a 3.0 for multiple quarters, you will need to come in and meet with an advisor and possibly be placed on an academic improvement plan. For most students, this is never an issue, but I do want to make you aware that you must have that 3.0 GPA or better in order to graduate. Also, if you are an MBA student, you must have a 3.0 GPA within your concentration courses. So for example, if you have declared a marketing concentration and you are taking 4 marketing electives, you must have a 3.0 GPA within those 16 credits, within those 4 classes, in order to graduate with a concentration. If for some reason your GPA is below a 3.0 within your concentration, you can still graduate from the MBA, but you will not be able to graduate with a concentration. In terms of individual grades, any grade lower than a C- is considered non-passing at the graduate level. If for some reason you received a grade below a C- in a core class or in a required class, you will need to repeat that course and receive a passing grade in that course. Additionally, both of those grades will be applied towards your GPA, so the non-passing grade and the passing grade. The passing grade does not cancel out the non-passing grade. So again, both of those grades will be part of your GPA. If you receive a non-passing grade in an elective course, so a non-required course, you do not necessarily have to repeat that class, but you will need to take another class in order to make up for those credits. Because again, anything lower than a C- would not count towards your degree requirements. Here's a sample grading scale. Some instructors may have slightly different scales, but this will give you a pretty good idea of what you can expect in terms of numerical grades and their corresponding letter grades. And as I said in the previous slide, remember, anything below a C- is considered non-passing. During your time here as a graduate student, you may occasionally encounter a closed course. In other words, a course in which the enrollment cap has been met. This is not very common, but it does happen occasionally, especially in some of our more popular classes, finance and marketing. If you do come across a class you want to take and the class is full, please don't panic. You can just add yourself to the wait list. You can do that through MyWeb. And then we will work with the academic department and the instructor on getting those students off the wait list and into the class. In most cases, this is never a problem. We're able to accommodate all students. So again, please don't worry if you come across a wait list. Go ahead and add yourself, and then we will work to get you in the class. We'll contact you via email once that happens and let you know that space has become available. A couple of important points concerning transfer credit. First of all, if you think you might be eligible for transfer credit, please come see one of the graduate advisors. We can help you with that process and determine whether or not you are eligible. Second point, one of the questions we get quite often regarding transfer credit is, I took some courses at CU Boulder, for example, towards my bachelor's degree. Am I able to use some of those courses towards my degree here at Daniels? Or I took some courses at CU in my MBA program. Am I able to use those courses here towards my master's degree in finance? The answer to those questions is no. We cannot double count any courses. So if you've taken classes somewhere else at another institution and those classes were used towards another degree, we cannot use those classes here as transfer credit. So again, there's no double counting of courses. However, if you have taken courses somewhere else and they were not used towards a graduate degree, it is possible we could use those as transfer credit here. Typically, we allow up to 2 classes of coursework towards transfer. Must be from an accredited school and must be within the last 5 years, grade of B or better. And if you have those qualifications met, we do ask that you initiate a transfer credit request within your first quarter of enrollment. So again, if you have questions about this process, please come see an advisor and we can help you.
One of the common questions we get is, can I do an internship and/or an independent study for academic credit? The answer is yes. Both of those experiences can be done for academic credit. And in most cases, those would only count towards a student's elective credits. Those would not go towards any core classes. Concerning internships, if you have an offer and you wish to pursue the offer, it's a two-step process. Step one is to connect with a faculty advisor, and we can help set you up with the appropriate person. Once you meet with that person, you'll want to talk about the general scope of the internship, your duties and responsibilities, and what you hope to gain from the experience. Also in that conversation, your faculty advisor will go over what that person wants from you in terms of a deliverable. A deliverable is usually a paper or project that you will submit at the conclusion of the internship that summarizes what you learned and how the internship is related to your career goals and aspirations. Once that conversation is complete with the faculty advisor, you will then want to register for the academic credit or credits. And that is done using a form found on the Office of the Registrar's site. You will actually register for an internship course in this case, and we can help you with that process. Concerning independent studies, it's a similar process. Independent studies are usually done if a student has a particular research area of interest that is not covered in one of our courses. In this case, you would connect with a faculty advisor, talk to that person about your area of interest and the scope of the project, how you envision it playing out, and then ask the faculty advisor if he or she is willing to work with you on the project. And then at the conclusion of the project, you will submit a paper of some type that summarizes what you learned. And again, this registration form can also be found on the Office of the Registrar's site. You have a maximum of 10 credits per degree that can be used in either an internship or independent study course.
A few important DU resources. First of all, the DU bookstore is located in Driscoll South. Driscoll is the building on campus with a glass footbridge that spans Evans Avenue. There's a Driscoll North and a Driscoll South. And again, the bookstore is in Driscoll South. Also in Driscoll South is the Pioneer Card office. This is where you'll go to get your student ID card. And it is on the ground floor just below the bookstore. If you are interested in athletics and recreation, the Ritchie Center is a great place on campus to go. Inside the Ritchie Center is the Coors Fitness Center, climbing wall, squash and racquetball courts, an Olympic-sized swimming pool, yoga classes, and basketball courts. If you are getting a parking permit, they are available, somewhat limited, but take a look at the options at parking.du.edu. Some of the permits are a little bit pricey, so you want to do some shopping around before you decide to buy a parking permit.
Regarding tuition, MS and MAcc students are billed per credit hour. And you see the rate there for the 2016-17 academic year is $12.58 per credit hour. However, there is a terrific new tuition benefit in place for graduate students for this next academic year. It's what we call a flat rate. This benefit was previously only available to undergraduate students, but it is now available to graduate students. If you take between 0 and 12 credit hours, you are billed per credit hour. So you'll be billed at the $12.58 per credit hour rate. Under the flat rate structure, if you take between 13 and 18 credits, you are only billed for 12. So those of you who take 16 credits in one quarter, which is 4 classes, you are only going to be billed for 12 during that quarter. So you'll be getting a free class, which is obviously a huge tuition benefit. And it's a benefit that many of you will probably want to take advantage of while you are at Daniels.
Student Financial Services is the office on campus that handles all student billing matters. Once you register for classes, you will receive an eco bill via email to your preferred email address. On this bill, you will see a complete breakdown of your tuition charges, information on how to pay your bill, and then the deadline to pay your bill. Please note, you will not receive a paper bill from the University of Denver. It is a paperless process. If you feel the need to sign up for a payment plan, you can do that through Student Financial Services as well. A few words on financial aid. There are two primary sources of funding here at Daniels for graduate students. The first is institutional awards. These include merit-based scholarships and grad assistant positions. These awards are typically given out at the time of a student's admission. However, if you did not receive an award at the time of your admission, you might be eligible for one of these awards as a continuing student. Typically, we would want to see 1 quarter's worth of academic work, and then you could apply for some of these awards. The second source of funding is federal, including loans and work study. There also might be some private resources, private scholarships and grants available. If you are a working professional, we certainly encourage you to talk to your employer about any kind of tuition reimbursement. And finally, if you are military, there are sources in place, GI Bill and Yellow Ribbon, for example, to help out. If you have any questions about any of these resources or financial aid in general, please contact Susan Harries here in our office. Her contact information is on this page.
For those of you who are veterans and have questions about VA benefits, the post 9/11 GI Bill, or the Yellow Ribbon program, Michelle Hansen is your contact here at DU. She's the coordinator of athletic certification and military programs. Her office is in the Office of the Registrar, which is in University Hall, right next to the Daniels College of Business. You're welcome to email her or call her directly or stop by her office. She's a great resource for veterans.
All DU students are required to have some kind of health insurance coverage. Many of you probably have your own plan. That is absolutely fine. If you do, please make sure you go into MyWeb after you've registered for classes to waive the DU plan. If you have your own plan and you do not waive the DU plan, you will be billed for it. If you do not have your own plan and you wish to sign up for the DU plan, please do so through MyWeb. If you have any questions about health insurance, please contact the bursar's office. If you think you might need classroom accommodations, we have an office here on campus. It's called DSP, Disability Services Program, and they can help you with any and all accommodations requests. They have an email address, dsp@du.edu. There's also a phone number that you can use for contact. Please make sure, if you are going down this route, that you communicate with your professors. Okay, make sure that those people are aware of what's going on and what kind of accommodations you might have during your time here as a student. In the past, many students have asked about discounted textbooks. Here are some resources you might look into if you are interested in used textbooks or discounted textbooks. Please note there is a rental program now through the DU bookstore, and that's a nice way to avoid paying. A few words on graduation. It might seem strange to be talking about graduation already, but for some of you in the Master of Accountancy program or some other MS programs, you'll be finishing the program and graduating in 12 months' time, perhaps even sooner. So it's important that you're aware of some processes in place concerning graduation. First of all, the university does require that you apply for graduation online through MyWeb 6 months prior to your intended graduation date. You will receive reminders for the application for graduation quarterly from the Office of Graduate Studies. Please make sure you do that 6 months in advance. Second, there are 2 ceremonies pertaining to graduation for Daniels graduate students. The first is academic hooding. That's every quarter, so fall, winter, spring, and summer. And the second is commencement. That is in the spring and summer only. The spring commencement ceremony is in June, and the summer commencement ceremony is in August. Commencement involves the entire university, so all graduate students from across DU will be involved in commencement. Academic hooding is for Daniel students only. Once you submit your application for graduation, you will receive information on both of these ceremonies via email. As you get ready to start your program here, just wanted to offer a few words of wisdom. First of all, make sure you explore and utilize the DU campus. Use the facilities that are in place and the resources here to make your experience better. Second, be proactive and get engaged. Seek out ways outside the classroom to enrich your experience. You might think about joining a student group or attending networking events, perhaps participating in case competitions. And as I mentioned earlier, make sure you use the faculty and staff here as a networking resource. Third, make sure you maintain a healthy balance while you're a student here. You will likely be involved in extracurricular activities, perhaps an internship, other things outside the classroom. Make sure you keep a healthy balance and don't get overextended. On behalf of the graduate advising team, welcome again to the Daniels College of Business. We wish all of you a lot of success here, and if you have any questions about the content in this webinar, please make sure you contact your graduate student advisor. Thank you.